There are people who move through life like they're always holding something invisible. A quiet weight, not heavy enough to complain about, just heavy enough to never fully relax. They're usually the ones others depend on. The calm ones, the capable ones, the ones who don't make a scene, don't ask twice, don't fall apart in public. If you're like that, you probably don't remember when it started. It doesn't feel like a wound, it feels like who you are. You learned early how to read a room, not because you were curious, but because it mattered. Because peace had to be protected. Because silence sometimes meant danger. Because someone had to stay steady. So, you did. Over time, staying steady stopped feeling like a choice. It became instinct. You got good at carrying things quietly, at being the reliable one, at keeping emotions small enough to manage. And people noticed. They always do. They call it strength, maturity, wisdom beyond your years. What they don't see is how tired that kind of strength makes you. Not the tiredness sleep fixes, the deeper kind. The kind that comes from always being on, even when nothing is happening. From relaxing only halfway. From feeling uneasy when everything is calm, like you've missed something important. Sometimes you wonder why rest feels uncomfortable, why joy feels brief, why being taken care of makes you strangely alert instead of safe. It's not because something is wrong with you. It's because part of you learned long ago that being okay meant staying useful. When you grow up in an environment where emotions are unpredictable, children adapt in quiet ways. They don't decide to be strong. They become careful. They notice what makes things worse and what keeps things smooth. They adjust. They step back. They hold in what they feel because holding it in seems safer than letting it spill. And no one tells them to stop. Years pass. Life changes. But the body remembers. So even as an adult, you might feel like you're still managing something unnamed, still monitoring moods, still measuring your words, still showing up for everyone while keeping yourself slightly out of reach. You don't feel broken. You just feel distant from yourself, like you're living competently, but not gently. Here's the part that matters most. That version of you didn't form because you were weak. It formed because you were perceptive, because you understood before you had the language for it that connection sometimes came with conditions. So you adapted. And adaptation saved you then, but now it might be the very thing keeping you from feeling at ease. Healing doesn't begin by tearing that part of you down. It begins by understanding it, by realizing that the constant self-control, the quiet endurance, the reluctance to need, those aren't flaws to fix. They're signals of a system that learns safety through responsibility. And once you see that, something softens. You stop asking, why can't I just relax like other people? And start asking, what was I protecting myself from? That question changes the tone of everything. Because instead of pushing yourself harder, you begin to listen. Instead of demanding more strength, you allow a little honesty. Instead of disappearing inside competence, you slowly make room for presence. Healing, in this sense, isn't dramatic. It's not a breakthrough. It's a quiet return. It's letting yourself pause without explaining, letting someone else carry something, even if they don't do it perfectly, letting your guard down in small, ordinary moments. Not all at once, just enough to remind your nervous system that the danger has passed. You don't have to unlearn who you are. You just have to stop believing that you must always hold everything together. Because the strength you built was real. It just doesn't need to run your life anymore. And when you finally allow yourself to exist without managing, without scanning, without bracing, you don't lose control. You gain something far rarer: ease. And maybe for the first time, you're not surviving your life. You're actually in it.